Welcome aboard. We're almost ready to set sail. We just need to get a head of steam up. Steam was pretty important to the Port of Echuca back in the early days. Steam was used in all the industry around the area, in the sawmills, used for construction in the factories and mills, a lot of breweries and soft drink factories that ran on steam. And most of the industry was steam powered back in the early days with all the workshops. Steam power really did make Echuca run. Here on board it's always the same routine. First up in the morning, we generally have to load up all the firewood. We need to put on a good ton or so for a day's running nowadays. Back in the early days when it was running, towing barges and had about 120 tonnes of timber on board, it would use about a tonne of wood in 2 hours. But nowadays it's a little bit easier. But then the engineer needs to fire up the boiler. It takes about 2 hours or so to get steam pressure up before we can actually set sail. And once we've got the pressure up and all the cargo's on, cargo nowadays is passengers, we can get underway. We use the River Red gum because it's a good burning timber. It gives off a good heat and it leaves a good bed of coals. A bed of coals in the boiler or in the firebox is fairly important. If you have to stop the boat, it's easy to fire it up again. So it's a very good all-round burning timber. The engineer might tap the pressure gauge now and then just to make sure it's working okay. He has to make sure it doesn't exceed the maximum. On this boat it's 125 pounds per square inch. The engineer's job is also to maintain the machinery. He has to go around and oil all the parts, all the moving parts. They have oilers on them and grease caps. He looks after those and makes sure they're full. When any glands are leaking, that sort of thing, he needs to do some maintenance on those. The real magic of the engine is harnessing the steam and turning it into power. The boiler's fired up. That heats up the water in the boiler. The steam's created. It is released through a steam regulator valve into a steam chest. There's valves that allow the steam into the cylinders, and they push the pistons up and down and rotate a crankshaft. The crankshaft's attached to the paddle shafts and they propel the boat along. The steam engine on the Pevensey is rated at 20 horsepower and it'll push this boat along at about 12 kilometres per hour. The Pevensey is capable of carrying 120 tonnes of cargo on board and also pull a barge with up to 300 tonnes on it, so they're pretty powerful engines. And we do all of that with just fire and water. I can see the gangplank's being stowed, so we'll cast off and get underway. Now I need your help here. On the count of 3, I'll get you to pull that cord there, okay? 1, 2, 3. Let's get underway.